Can you feature that ugly creature? Creature features and feature features about creatures. Creature features.
So, this is the Secret Cavern. Believe it or not, as you look at these things, everything used to be crammed in one small bedroom. And my wife and daughter and everyone goes, how did you fit everything in there? So let me give you a little tour just about what things are and how things are set up and arranged. This is my desk working area. I got all these little knickknacks. I know it probably looks like cluttered, almost borderline hoarder, but not quite. Got little things like this, little Batman figures. Cool thing is that's a thumb drive, right? So, I think it's like an 8 gig. There's a Superman thumb drive there. Cool thing, in the early 70s, 74 I think, 7-Eleven had these glasses. So when you got a Slurpee, you would get the glasses. So actually, was it 7-Eleven got a Slurpee in 1974. As you can see, I got Fantastic Four. We got a Hulk, Captain America. Inside here is a little Chewbacca from 1977. No wrapper, of course, but that's just little knickknacks from Star Wars. Kind of cool. I majored in screenwriting in school, so in here is all my screenwriting books and story structure with some magic cards and other little knickknacks. These are the latest two things in my collection. Little zombie apocalypse card game that I got. And I don't know if you watched Werewolf by Night on Disney Channel, but this is Ted, the man thing that was in there. New bobblehead, kind of cool little thing. Kind of like Man Thing. This back case here is kind of hard. Kind of role-playing games, a lot of Dungeons and Dragons thing. This is the Crown Royal bag. I'm not a drinker, but I like the bag, so I went and bought some and gave it to one of my workers, just so I could have a bag with dice. So this is all my dice in there for gaming and stuff. So kind of cool. I got a gaming table over there, which we'll show you in a bit. But there's all kinds of things in here, like, I don't know if you've ever seen, I got one Marvel, one DC pop-up book. So it's kind of like an X-Men comic book, but it's a pop-up, so that's kind of just extra cool, right? So a lot of cool things like that all throughout here. If you've noticed on the case, on the top rows, I have models. So we got some Conan models. I don't know if I'm ever going to build them. I just kind of like the artwork and I like how they look. And I got puzzles and models all along the top shelf, all the way through. So probably my pride and joy is that Doc Savage puzzle. My sister gave me that one. Doc Savage, I think it was 1975. George Powell did that movie. I don't think you can buy these in the stores anymore. You probably see them on eBay, but all the Marvel models that they did are kind of cool. And then, of course, I got the monster models we can see on the other side. But if you want to come back over here, let's just look. Okay, you might say it looks a little junky. Let's just go through and see what we got here. Little Warcraft tins, but inside, look at that. They're like little shurikens and things. So that one's kind of filled with weapons. This one's kind of cool too. A little Batman shuriken from the Dark Knight movies. I got this tube back here. I forgot what's in it. Maybe let's... I think I got a Doc Savage poster in here. Maybe a Tarzan one, or maybe both. So that's one episode we'll have to have is Doc Savage. That is a Doc Savage little replica handiwork. Kind of a big Doc Savage fan, but that's kind of interesting there. And we have... Probably should have done this in my signed Tarzan episode, but there's a signed by Joe Jusko, the artist. A little Tarzan poster. Need to probably get that one framed. But kind of keep that special over here. So those are kind of, like I say, it's kind of filled with little knickknacks like that. These here are big little books. Probably started in the late 1930s. 40s pretty popular. So as you can see, Tarzan, Buck Rogers. Here's what they kind of look like. So you got a nice little comics on one side, story on the other. You could kind of read it in a day. When I was young, these were all over the stores, and then when I started getting older and I didn't see them anymore, that's when I started collecting them. We got Buck Rogers, we got a little Flash Gordon here, Long Ranger, Superman, and it started, the very first one was a Dick Tracy one. It was Dick Tracy's Adventure. That one's probably worth the most. But just kind of cool little books. You can pick these up on eBay. They're usually $10 to $20 each. Back here we have quite a bit. Probably one of my pride and joys in this shelf is my Neil Adams Dead Man right here. If I can pull it out of there. Kind of always enjoyed his artwork. So it's kind of in a slipcase. So the Dead Man collection. So just a comic book reprinted. But you can see how kind of nice his artwork is in there. Yeah, Neil Adams is big in the 70s, late 60s. Pretty popular today. There's all the Dead Man stories. Like I said, I kind of like that slipcase that he comes in. So you got a couple things like that. Spent forever trying to put that in there. We'll have to edit that down so it looks way smooth. Little Superman knickknacks, little comic books. This is kind of cool here. So I thought this was one of the first ones when superheroes started being big. This is from 1994, Spider-Man: The Venom Factor. What's cool about it is it comes with like a collector's card. Sometimes I go, if I see this in a used bookstore, I go, man, there's a card in there? Did someone swipe it? Never taken it out of there, but that's kind of cool that it has it. And I thought it was one of the first, but actually, Marvel did some novels in the 70s. I'll show you those in a minute. It's got a collection over here. So you see we continue with the big little books. Tarzan. I kind of have some more Pulp Fiction over here. My Vampirella model. This is really cool. These are all Pulp Fiction, like we have the Spider here. So Pulp Fiction hero. So what is it they've done recently is like having other stories. So people write other stories about the Spider. Green Hornet. Then we got more superhero novels here. More little knickknacks, some Arkham Horror. These are kind of cool because these were advertised like in the 70s. I never could afford them, the Frankenstein horror series. So I started buying these on eBay now, and they're like pretty cool. This kind of a campy, pulpy type horror little story. This section here is my Edgar Rice Burroughs. Every book that Edgar Rice Burroughs has printed up, if you can see here, we got like covers from 50s, 60s to Neil Adams and Boris doing Tarzan covers. If you look at these books here, $1.95. So that was one of the, first ones in the 70s that kind of came out. And we'll have a whole show about those. We have The Princess of Mars, all the other ones. The first book that really got me hooked in here, Cave Girl. Love that story. Look at that, 75-cent copy. Frank Varsetti did a lot of the artwork on the Burroughs books. And that's kind of, I think, what sold. People would just buy them because of the covers. And then we have the Doc Savage collection. You never really see these for sale anymore. I went to a bookstore and I asked the guy and I said, hey, do you have any Doc Savage? He goes, we only get those when somebody dies. So when I'm dead, I guess my family will probably sell this collection and someone will be a lucky person to purchase it and have that collection there. After Doc Savage, that goes all the way like over to here. We got more little Pulp Fiction, some Shadow. Look at that one. Bought that one off the shelf, I remember. And then I got my Conan collection. I think those are all the Conans. We got some Flash Gordon books here. Alex Raymond from the 70s. See the Witch of Mongrel. There we go. The Phantom, which were great books. Kind of a superhero, The Ghost Who Walks. If you're familiar with The Phantom, we do a whole show on that. These are Indiana Jones. After the first movie came out, they did a series of novels, and they haven't done them since. So these are pretty hard to find nowadays. But you got about 12 different novels on Indiana Jones. And then we have our superhero ones. The cool ones right here. So these were from 1978, 79. There's like a Spider-Man. Some more superhero one. I think this one's 79 here. Avengers, so those are kind of rare. But then we kind of had all the superhero novels. You really don't see them in stores anymore. But we have these 2 rows here, just all kind of Spider-Man, X-Men. We got some DC, Green Lantern. And some of them are actually pretty good as you go through and read. Then we go into our horror section. So this section here, we got our, of course, Bride of Frankenstein, little puzzle I threw up there. Different collections, Arkham Horror. We got Ravenloft from the Fantasy Realm settings. Kristen Golden, Little Vampire of the Mist. We got Jim Butcher, the Dresden series. We got Brian Keene, which is a great zombie series, probably some of the best zombie books ever written. I'll show you this. Let's see, I used to have a book cover because my wife goes, "You're not going to read that book." And then I got a book cover so I could hide what I was reading so she couldn't tell what the cover was. Oh, this is a good one here. Greg Kine. You ever hear the song Jeopardy? My love's in jeopardy. That's him, the musician, and he wrote this book called The Horror Show about them doing a zombie movie, and they had real zombies in it. It's an awesome little horror book. So that's a hard one to find. I really enjoyed it. I wish he'd write more. But he's probably too busy making music. Here we got some Monster Times in the 70s. These were like really huge, and it's like a little newspaper. So you can see it was only 50 cents. It's kind of beat up. But it opens like a little newspaper, and that's how you read it. The Monster Times, you go through. So this one has like zombies in it. A zombie issue. A Godzilla issue with little Batman in it. We got the giant bugs. It's like Japanese horror film, it looks like. Little King Kong. Little Island Earth. Little Star Trek episode. Here's the cool thing I'll show you. Every issue has like a poster in the middle. So there we go, Count Yorga, vampire. Let's see if we can look at this poster without it being so ripped up. Oh, maybe the poster's taken out. It was right there. Maybe this one didn't have one. We got a little Frankenstein comic book in there. That's kind of cool. Yeah, I gotta be careful. Every time I open it, it kind of tears a little bit. Wish I would find a way to restore these. And we got a first issue of Starlog kind of hidden in there. If you're familiar with that magazine. So we got some comics. It's kind of a drawing table here. Again, yeah, it kind of looks borderline hoarder, doesn't it? A little bit. Still kind of organizing it. This section over here, horror section kind of continued. We got our F. Paul Wilson, which is Repairman Jack series. Robert R. McCameron, which Spings the Nightbird. Some excellent horror type novels there. So we'll do some episodes where we do some, I think we'll talk about vampires first. That little thing, we'll edit that out.
Yeah, we're good.
This section over here is the fantasy section. So you can see up top here, we got Warhammer mostly. I think Warhammer still kind of, these were some of the earlier one collection I had. Red Thirst that has Troll Slayer, and I believe this has some nice artwork in it. Let's see if we can find a picture in there. There we go, right at the beginning there's one. So this is Wolf Riders. So he's got a nice little artwork there. But yeah, Gore-Tex, that's a little Troll Slayer. Excellent stories. Kind of a dark, violent fantasy. So Warhammer has quite a bit, and then we get into our Dragonlance and Forgotten Realms. You used to have bookstores that had whole sections, all Forgotten Realms. Now they don't really see that many anymore. So this is almost all of Forgotten Realms done here. So you got your Dragonlance, you got your Drits. I love these here, 1 through 16. They're the Harper series. What a Harper is, that's probably not the best cover. Here's a good one. A Harper is someone that works for kind of the government, and they're an agent for good. So they have a symbol of like a crescent moon and a harp. And they're always sent out, you know, to combat evil and to do away evil. So every one of these books is an example of where someone's contacted who's a Harper agent by a king or queen or princess, and they're set out on some mission to conquer, vanquish some evil. So it's a pretty exciting series. I kind of enjoy it quite a bit. This over here, I had a friend once, and he worked in a warehouse. He says, hey, I'm clearing out some stuff. Will you help me destroy it? And I go down there, and it's a bunch of pinball machines that he's destroying, throwing in the trash thing. So I said, man, can I get that Superman back glass? So I think I got a video machine out of it and a Superman back glass, which is kind of cool. But this is the comic book artist type area. So all the way from years ago, they started having different books on how to draw comics, how to do it. Probably my most favorite one are the Wizard ones here, because it was to be in the Wizard magazines, how to draw. And so there's all your art classes right there. I don't think you can buy these anymore. And I think really feel that it's like brand new. Probably pretty expensive on eBay, a couple $100, just because it's something that you won't find anywhere else. If I can get it back in there. What do we got here? Oh, look at that. Got some Star Wars big comic books. I think I was getting these to post on eBay to sell, to see what we could get for them or what the going price was. But Star Wars came out. I have the other issues, original ones in my boxes somewhere. So I got to organize it, but that's just a reprint of the first Star Wars comic book that came out by Marvel. So that's kind of cool. If I slide that back in there. What else do we see in here? We got different coloring books. It's hard to keep up with them, but there's a Planet of the Apes ones. I'm a big Planet of the Apes nut. I love the comic book Planet of the Apes in the 70s. I think I liked everything in the 70s a little better than now. But here's all like those big comic books standing up right here. So those are kind of cool. We can go through and do a whole show on those one time. Here we get into our science fiction. So first we kind of have our Necronomicon, Warhammer science fiction, kind of the Warhammer 40K they call it. I got my L. Ron Hubbards. Okay, now I watched the special. Scientology is kind of crazy, but this is one of the best science fiction books I've ever read. I bought this in the bookstore when it first came out, so it was the first edition, way battered on the dust cover of Battlefield Earth. Man, I read this forever. And me and my friends always would send letters to each other saying we were Johnny Goodboy Tyler, who's kind of the lead character. Kind of crazy into Scientology. No offense to Scientologists. I talk to you at comic conventions all the time. But I love this fiction that L. Ron Hubbard writes. So we get down, let's see. These are all kind of cool. These are the 40K, kind of the Warhammer. So Space Marines, if you ever heard of that. And I just can't help it. Whenever they do a reprint book, so with all the nice artwork and covers, I end up buying it because it looks so cool. first I don't want it, but then after a while, if I see it, I saw this one in a used bookstore, so got it. And this is a nice, cool addition to have. Get into my science fiction and, of course, my Wizard of Oz. My daughter keeps trying to steal these from me, and she says, how do you know it was gone? So Barnes & Noble put these out a while ago. I don't know if you knew it, but the Wizard of Oz was during the 30s. Frank Baum used to publish every 2 years a Wizard of Oz story. There's like 24 different novels. And so they've reprinted them here. This is another copy, but you kind of see that yellow copy is just a little nicer. So I kind of got 2 or 3, in fact, 3 different versions of Wizard of Oz stories on there. But I used to read those to my kids when they were little. It's probably one of my favorite space opera books. The Space Vulture. Archbishop John Myers and Gary Wolfe, who were childhood friends, said, hey, let's write a space opera like we used to watch, like one of the old serials. And this is the adventure they wrote. I would love it. I think Netflix should make it into a movie or Apple TV. So good. Maybe I'll write the script and put that in there. We got Dark Sun, which was kind of a dark science fiction, kind of a Dune-like planet setting that they did. So these are really impossible to find. But you kind of see there, Brahm did some of the artwork, so that's what became really popular on it, about a desert-dying planet. So those are just, you know, kind of exciting inventions to have. Impossible to find even in used bookstores now. So pretty cool. Now you think, boy, the books, the models, that's a lot. Buckle your seatbelts because it gets worse because now we got these games. So I've kind of did a count, and I know Grant does Grant games and board games with Brandy or other internet things that I've seen, and I watch your TikTok videos and I love them. But I think I have well over 1,300 games at the last count. Here's one I got to unbox. This is the Crocodile, I think. So it's kind of like a shuffleboard. My wife doesn't know I have it yet, so that's why it's kind of hiding in the box right there. But we'll unbox and have that one week. But the thing is, the games are here, and there's like another section behind these. That's how many there are. So you got all these games here, then there's just as many on the other side back. So I kind of figured there's like 30 or 40 games to each section. It's kind of my loose gathering. Plus I got a gaming table here. Boy, what would be some of them are still wrapped, I know. What do you call those? Games with opportunities. I think I heard Grant say on his channel. I used to have the original Dune game, and I played it so much I just wore it out. But that copy I think is worth quite a bit. But we have the reprint right here. I'll tell you one other one I'm kind of proud of. If you walk all the way over here, I know it looks a little junky. I don't know if you ever played the game Space Hulk. This is the original game Space Hulk from Games Workshop. And they've done a reprint, and I got the reprint right there. But take a look at that. So you're a space marine fighting these different aliens on the ship. You can see this plate. Here's what the aliens. I've painted some of them, as you can see. So they're kind of cool looking little guys. And then, of course, I got my space marines there that go to attack. Looks like I got to glue a little bit. But the cool thing is you just put the game pieces up, and all they are is like hallways. And so you set a hallway up, and they'll say, like, here's the object. Go down to this hallway to the end and open up the exit door. And that's all you have to do. And you have like 6 Marines to do it. But the aliens keep flooding in like zombies. And it is a blast to play. It plays really fast. We'll have to set that up and play it one week. Because like I said, I got the original, which I played a lot. And then also we have the new one that just came out a year or 2 ago. And I would say the game was weighted heavily in the aliens' favor. Then they came out with some different ones that were trying to rebalance it out, give some psychic abilities to the Marines. More games that continued over here. I do like my zombie games, which are kind of at the end, but we got Rising Sun, we got some puzzles mixed in. We have a whole section of puzzles right there. And that's, I don't know how many puzzles, a couple hundred easily. And of course our zombie side. And this is probably the worst, and I know it looks very hoarder-like. I used to own a comic sandwich shop years ago, but These are now comics, and I'm trying to get them organized. I've been selling some on eBay. Just stacks and stacks and boxes of comic books. Some from my original collection, some from just the comic book shop. But you can see there's boxes and boxes that something we'll have to go through. And of course there's a Dawn of the Dead poster, which we love. So what we plan is each week we're going to take a little section, take a special note, and we'll go through and do a little in-depth dive. We'll talk about some books, vampire books, ones that maybe you haven't heard of that are great reads, some good zombie books. We'll talk about Doc Savage. We'll talk about some Tarzan. We'll play some games. And these are things that I don't usually see on normal channels that we'll see. Here's what we'll talk about. So kind of open just a different version, a little wider view into the collectibles. And remember, the one rule in the Secret Cavern, if my light turns on, don't touch my stuff. I just tell everyone, hey, you can come down here and look, but don't touch anything. Don't touch my stuff. Thanks for watching this week, and we'll talk to you next week.